Here I am. I finally made it to my 117th video. You only get one of these, so I figured why not take this opportunity to live up to my name a little bit and talk about my favorite video game of all time, Halo. Now, during the process of this video, I may throw up some screenshots that I took as a kid from Halo Reach. So if those are showing up, that's what's going on. This is how Halo taught me how to be brave.
When you first saw Halo, were you blinded by its majesty?
Blinded?
Paralyzed? Dumbstruck?
Yes. So this story all begins in what I believe to be 2008, which would mean I'm 8 years old. That information could be incorrect. It could be 2007, as I want to say Halo 3 wasn't released at the time. But then again, I don't really remember. It could span between 06 and 08, but I want to say it's 2008. Because when I first started playing Halo, I remember the kids in my school were talking about games that they really liked at the time, and these cool new games, and I didn't really pay that much attention, but when I discovered Halo, I remember going back to school, and during break time, like, talking with people, being like, were you guys talking about Halo? Is that the game y'all were talking about? And of course they looked at me all funny and were like, what? What's that? So they did not understand when I mentioned Halo. I want to say that was first or second grade. So anyway, so how my Halo journey got started actually began with my older brother. If I remember correctly, a friend of his let him borrow some Xbox games that he had. Now, we didn't have an original Xbox. We had an Xbox 360. But of course, you know, some games were backwards compatible. And one of those games, of course, was Halo 2. There's a memory I have of the other games being like Portal and the Orange Box, but I want to say that's a separate event. It could be the same event, and I didn't ever really play those games, didn't ever get around to it, but because I can't remember it well, let's just stick with there were some games, and one of them was Halo 2. I remember rummaging through this bag, of course my brother Preston not being around at the time. I'm in his room, and I see Halo 2's case. And man, it was cool. I love that early 2000s case art style for a lot of games and media at the time, where it's like they're trying to be realistic, but you can still tell that it's like painted or drawn, you know what I mean? And the shading and the dark spots are like really dark, and the colors like pop in a certain way that's also kind of grungy. It's weird, but it's really cool. And out of all the games, this one caught my eye, and I was so stoked to play it. And then I turn the case over and I drop it. And I think I even let out a little yelp too. Why? Because I saw this guy right here. This blue Elite on the back of the case. It scared me. Now keep in mind, at this age, I was a scaredy cat. I was terrified of even basic things. In fact, for one of my birthdays, my aunt actually brought me these like foot-tall figurines that were wrapped inside some wrapping paper. I think it was a birthday, could have been a Christmas thing. Either way, when I tore open the left-hand side, of course, it's Spider-Man. And I could handle Green Goblin. I assumed that's who it would be on the right-hand side, but I was kind of afraid that it was Doc Ock. Sure enough, I start tearing open that side of the wrapping paper, and I see his clothed face. It was the Doc Ock from when he's in the surgery room. I dropped that thing, screamed, and ran out on my back porch and was crying. It was pathetic how scared I was back then of things. But also, part of the reason things scared me so easily back then was because they were sure to make a round 2 when it came to my dreams of that evening. I could have nightmares very easily, if I saw scary things. So I was always very weary about seeing stuff like that. Couldn't watch Jurassic Park, refused to take a look at Jaws, and you bet your checkered shorts that I was scared of Alien. You know, the movies with this alien. When I saw the Halo 2 case, of course, I hadn't seen the Alien thoroughly. I've only, seen it in passing by. But I thought this game was in that same universe, and that was that alien. So I was scared to play the game. And I remember talking to my older brother about it. And I asked him, I'm like, hey, I want to play this game with you, but can we play together? And of course he was like, yeah, we'll do that. But he wasn't really getting around to it. And I think part of that was he was checking out the game if it would be okay for my 8-year-old eyes to see. But at the same time, he wasn't in any hurry to try out that game. But I was. And so after a couple days of meandering around, I finally took it upon myself one day when he wasn't home that I would play it by myself. And I popped the disc in, loaded up the game, and while I don't remember much about seeing the menu for the first time, I just know that loading it up for the first time, I thought it was really cool. Of all the games I had played before, which were mostly on N64 and GameCube, and a bit of some games on Xbox 360 at that point, but not many, I thought this was the coolest thing I'd ever seen. The music was just amazing. Sick background, alien invasion on Earth, to which the only other game like that I'd played at that point that I can remember was Body Harvest on the N64. So with my basic reading level, I somehow navigated to the campaign and started the game for the first time. And I don't remember much about seeing the cutscenes, but I want to say what would have been most lore accurate is whenever the Covenant were on screen, I averted my eyes, but whenever Master Chief was on screen, I was glued to it. So that's what I'm going to assume happened. But finally, I get to start playing the first mission, and I want to say I ended up picking up an SMG. And here in the gameplay, I dual wield it, but I'm not sure if that is quite accurate. I want to say I may have, but I'm not sure. And even though while we get down the stairs, I'm lined up here, this is what I want to say how I remember it, but I could have been at the top of the stairs. I don't really remember. I may have been hanging out in the back. In fact, actually, I think it's more accurate. I was like, no, I'll stick with our forces. So all our firing power's back here. And I remember seeing that door glow. I remember seeing it light up, getting ready to be cut open, but then it bursts open. There's a big smoky cloud, and then some grunts cut through. And now the grunts didn't scare me too bad. That was fine. I could shoot them. But then I saw an elite, and that scared me. I didn't think I'd see him this early. And so I went and hid at this computer. I'm pretty sure it was this one. And an elite found me. A lot like this. And in my terror and in my screaming, I laid down on the triggers and put that elite down, completely and utterly out of fear. But the funny thing was, is after I put him down, it then hit me. Not quite like that. I don't know, that may have actually happened, but I'm not so sure. Now, while he wasn't exactly right here, he was more in this area where I'm pointing now. When I killed that first elite, and mowed him down with my SMG, maybe dual SMGs, because I thought dual wielding was cool, it hit me. And I was like, oh, well, this ain't so bad. And then after that, for the most part, I handled the rest of Halo pretty well. I think the only other time I got scared was when I was introduced to the Flood for the first time, and I think I even faced them up until the point where you first get outside and you're on that bridge and all the popcorn flood are kind of running at you. I think at that point I paused the game and turned it off like, yeah, I need a break. But other than that, that moment, that very first moment of facing my fears, even though it was kind of unintentionally, that was a foundational moment for me. And that's where Halo taught me to be brave. Really specifically, that one is the most vivid starting point of that simple lesson of facing my fears. And I think that's really cool. That is my founding memories of Halo, was teaching me to be brave. Oftentimes, our fears, they hold us back. And if we would face some of them, while this isn't true for all cases, there's a good bit of the time, especially during your growing up years, that it's not so bad after all. And that's where my Halo story began. And to this day, out of all the campaigns, Halo 2, being my first Halo, is still my favorite. Even with the ridiculous legendary difficulty nonsense that can happen in that game. But also when it comes to many stories, I always like the middle, because the adventure is really starting to pick up, but it's not the end, so things aren't melancholy and somber. You're right in the middle of the adventure. And Halo 2 is just the perfect sweet spot of all the campaigns. Now, while I wouldn't say it's my favorite to play, campaign-wise, Halo 2 every time. It's where my journey began. And man, what a starting point. But now, not to get too lost in details and make this lengthier than it needs to be, it's time to move over to Halo Reach. Halo Reach is the end of my Halo story. Well, at least for the good times. That was the last time Halo was truly Halo. For some reason, people felt Halo Reach was divisive at the time, and I never understood that sentiment. To me, Halo Reach was a beautiful love letter to send off to the fans as they waved goodbye. And I wish things would have ended there. As tragic as it is to say, Halo is in way worse shape than if it just would have been left alone and peacefully went on its way. As tragic as that sounds, it's even more tragic what Halo has turned into today. Did you know Halo 4 was the first game that I bought with my own money? 12-year-old me finally saved up enough to buy a Halo game, and it turned out to be complete garbage? What a waste. And I really gave Halo 4 a chance. I really did. Gosh, what a waste. But for Halo Reach, I think I just want to show off like the screenshots and these old clips that I saved. So this is spanning between 2011 to 2014 at the latest. I got Halo Reach at the very end of 2010. So these saved clips are likely, here. And now those screenshots, they span from my first times playing Reach, so some of them. Oh, and dude, let me tell you, the split screen multiplayer good time goodness that we had playing Halo Reach. Let me tell you, my neighborhood as a kid, we were basically a Sandlot. Like the movie, having all those kids, that was us. But we only played baseball, I think, one time. But what I mean is we had a good, diverse amount of kids in the neighborhood. You're talking, sometimes when we'd be playing Reach, there would be 8 of us in the same room. And guess what? We weren't playing on no flat screen. No, we were playing on this mug right here. Oh, and not only that, but take this little, 12-inch by 12-inch screen. At least I think that's what it is. Looks like it. Yeah, and go ahead and split that. Draw a line down the middle and side. Yeah, that's what we were playing on. We were playing on this mug. Isn't that crazy, dude? And whenever, one of us would die, we'd swap controllers with somebody, if there were too many people inside either my room or the office, which was a little shed that we have out back that we played in. But yeah, people complain about not having enough screen space playing split screen. Bro, we did this, and keep in mind, everything is 480p at the most on this thing, and we're playing split split screen multiplayer, which means you don't even have the benefit of, like, if you play split screen on an HD TV, on a flat screen, you have a widened split screen window. On this mug, everything is more squared. So you have even less FOV playing this. And in fact, if you look at any of those screenshots that I've shown, if you notice any of them that have the black bars on the sides, that's because when I took those screenshots, I was on that SpongeBob TV. I still rock that TV to this day sometimes on some old games. But man, looking at these old clips, it's just... And I love that it even shows like the names of everybody, their armor, and what our names were at the time. Because originally on Xbox, my profile name was Ethan. And then as I knew I'd get Xbox Live one day, I was like, well, I want my gamer tag to be Chief, so I changed it to Chief. And then of course when I finally got Xbox Live, which was in 2014, Chief was already taken. So then of course I became Chief S2117. And by the way, these maps that I'm playing on, these are my maps. I made these between the ages of 11 to 14. In fact, the maps Abandoned Gas Station and Fort Blackwater, which I'm showing, I made those probably at the age of 11 or 12. Which, when you think about it, it's kind of crazy, especially with how decently built they are for that age and what they offer. And I loved loading, you know, maps with armor abilities and such. Like in the Abandoned Gas Station, I got these racks, you know, which you would order, like, you know, pull snacks and stuff off the shelves of. That's where I got like armor abilities and guns and such. And oh, and then the Gauss Warthog outside was such bogus because you could shoot through walls with it. The guys would use that on me all the time. Halo was awesome, man. Gosh, Halo Reach was my favorite multiplayer just because, like, it came with everything, dude. A great forge, a fully functional theater mode. You can take screenshots, you can make short clips out of it, which of course I did. You can see, we played a lot of Infection, Legendary Infection, which was my own custom game mode. And that was another thing, you could do custom game modes, and the amount of detail you could go into on creating a game mode, and like, still be a lot of details you could mess with, but at the same time, it not be too complicated. Like, why has no other games really taken this formula and really went off with it? There's some that have like meddled in this territory, but nobody has done Forge to the degree that Halo has, at least on the mainstream part. Nobody has done custom games to the way Reach has, or Halo did. Theater mode, all of that stuff, and it was day one you got this entire package, fully functional, and even with the game's updates, you could still go back and watch the original footage and move around in the footage, like you're not stuck to a camera. People really sleep on how much Bungie did to make our childhoods just ultimately quality of life, man. For a lot of details that people don't even mention some of the time, and that's sad to see. I mean, these guys really, they gave it all for us. Bang for your buck. Dude, we would play so much Halo Reach, and I made a good bit of maps. I tried to, at one point, I planned to remake Rust from MW2. I never finished that. The last map that I ever finished was Tower Arena. That map, I want to say I made in 2014, and that was the last map I ever finished. It's a very simple principle, great for King of the Hill, because I had my own custom game mode called Silent Hills. And what it was is, of course, the hill jumps around a lot on this Tower Arena, but this tower is very dangerous to be on. Even jumping around, if you get sucked into the middle, you're instantly teleported to death. Like, it's chaos. But the other side of it is everybody starts with an assault rifle, but your secondary is always random. There's a random feature in the custom games you could put on your weaponry. That's so cool. And so whenever you spawn in, you always swap to your secondary to see what crazy gun you got, or crazy weapon, and even sometimes you would have nothing. You could spawn with nothing. Now, of course, there's plenty of dead bodies around because it's so easy to die. It's a fun gimmick in game mode, so nobody really takes it too seriously. It's a fun time that you can just try to play King of the Hill and be on the hill for like 2 seconds at most before somebody wipes you out with something crazy. Like, it was a really good final map to make. And I don't even know how I came up with the idea. It just kind of hit me one day. And I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. Simple map, small player count, especially because, you know, I'd pretty much designed most things for split screen, but could support Xbox Live later. But this one, I was like, you know, we do play a lot of split screen stuff. Let's make something simple and more dedicated to that. And this was it. This was it. It's perfect. But also going through these it's so cool to see these old moments replay. See how we looked at the time, what our gamer tags were, and just really witness, you know, what it was like back in the day. It's also really cool to see what my younger brain was. The fact that I was making maps and game modes and stuff like this is actually really surprising, at least to this level of quality, which I've always been a guy for the details, always have been. It's really neat to see, and it's all thanks to Bungie that I can watch this stuff again, that I can see. Oh, and in this clip in Tower Arena, you may notice this old armor. This was my very first armor that I wore, and now this clip recorded, of course, is way later. But just to pay homage to the past, I decided, yeah, I'm gonna wear that armor again. Why not? You know, because it's been so long since I wore that combination of armor. So yeah, these old screenshots, whenever you see a green Spartan with an ODST helmet, that's me. Oh yeah, and these screenshots here, this is of everybody that played and that I considered my quote-unquote team. Like, these are my boys, and I had my own idea of what they'd be in the Halo universe. And we were, instead of Noble Team, we were Echo Team. Of course, I had 3 different screenshots because I could only play split screen to take a picture of everybody. And some of these other screenshots actually were girls in school that I liked at the time, specifically these two, Albany and Classified. Classified, by the way, was a girl named Cassidy. Now, I actually had made profiles for them and made their own Spartans because I had hopes that one day I'd have them come over and we'd play Halo Reach together. What's funny is I actually ended up dating these two at different points in school, so it's you know, it wasn't completely out of the realm of fantasy, alright? I gotta say, Cassidy's armor combination I love the most, what's funny is I actually found from this, like, old fan art that you could find on Google. If I find it, I'll put a picture of it up. But it was this steel and orange colored Spartan. Either way, the cat's out of the bag. I admit it. Classified is unclassified now. Oh, and I forgot to mention. Okay, so when I was playing Reach offline for the longest time until I got Xbox Live, I actually got my rank offline all the way up to the rank of Legend. Now, back then, they actually gave you credits worth your salt for performing good in the game. Same thing with campaign or firefight. You actually got more credits than the crap that they spilled out, you know, post 2010. But I got all the way up to the rank of Legend. But if you hadn't been on Xbox Live and you hopped onto it for the first time on Reach, it would D-rank you all the way back to Sergeant Grade 1. Yeah, ridiculous. So when I hopped on Xbox Live for the first time, surely enough, I got D-ranked all the way from Legend back to Sergeant Grade 1. Lost all my armor, lost a lot of things that I'd purchased, and had to start over again. But all thanks to my very first YouTube video, Lucas D8I. Normally I wouldn't want anybody to hack my game, but because of that first video, which was in 2020, this guy found my name, hacked my account, and got me all the way up to Eclipse. Now first, when he had mentioned it, I didn't think he was talking about, like, he had already done it. I thought he was saying offering, and I was like, nah, dude, it's okay. But then I hop on the game and see that he did it, and I was like, holy crap, and I went back and looked at the comment, and I was like, dude, you have no idea what you just did. He got me all the way up to Eclipse, man, and even though that's beyond the rank of Legend, you have no idea what you gave back to me for what I had lost. I think even going up those couple of ranks to Eclipse was well earned for all the loss that I had to suffer. I think I was in the captain ranks, maybe major, when he ranked me up, because I'd ranked my way back up a little bit, but yeah, much appreciate that, dude. But with all that said, I think it's time to wrap this thing up. I love Halo. I grew up playing Halo, and it means so much to me. I've been a big Halo fan my whole life, dedicated to the Bungie Halos. Halo has been such a big part of my life. I've never really had many people that I looked up to growing up. There were a few, but not many. But one of those was the Master Chief himself. To me, he represented everything I wanted to be. Now, as a kid, it was, I want to be that tall, I want to have big muscles and be that strong and brave and save the world. But even amongst the other people in the games, he seemed like the morally strong character too. He was unflinching and unwavering in his dedication to doing what's right. There's many reasons I love Halo, but Halo was my childhood. To any Bungie employees that slaved away at making these the best games that they could be, as mushy as it sounds, cheesy as it sounds, thank you.